Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 22, Children of Time. This was a great episode. I really liked this one. So, the Defiant is basically doing their thing in the Gamma Quadrant, and Dax wants to go to a planet to, do some science-y thing, and when they go towards it, they get caught in some interference, and they end up, crashing on the planet, basically. And when they get there, they find out that there's 8,000 humans on this planet, or at least humanoids. And there's a whole settlement. And when they make contact with it, the first two people that they meet is O'Brien and Dax. Or somebody with the last name. It's a woman with the last name of O'Brien, and then a person who introduces himself as Dax. And it turns out that a couple of days from now, when the Defiant tries to escape again, it gets caught in some interference and crashes 200 years in the past. And the 8,000 people that are on the planet are the descendants of the crew of the Defiant, which we later find out it's 49 people. So it's kind of interesting to kind of watch how they start interacting with all of these different characters. So, for example, Dax is the third generation from Jadzia down, and the symbiote just keeps getting passed down, and he has the spots, and he kind of has the same mannerisms, he holds his hands behind his back, which goes back to the very first Dax host that we saw in the episode where Dax meets everybody. It's also interesting that when they first land there, Dr. Bashir puts Odo basically in a stasis because he can't hold his shape, and then Odo shows up. And at first I was like, oh, they're just going to write him out of this episode? That's really weird. Well, Odo shows up, but he actually has ears and he has some facial structure going on, and it turns out that this is the Odo, the same Odo 200 years down the line, and he confesses his undying love for Kira, who had just broken up with her boyfriend Shakar. And that, we've known that founders live for an extremely long time. They could even be immortal. And Odo has been practicing and making himself better. And he admits to Kira that he's in love with her. Some interesting stuff happens where the male Dax, the Dax descendant, I guess we can call him, comes up with a plan where the Defiant will split in two, basically. Our Defiant will go out back to Deep Space Nine, where Kira's about to die, so they can take her and save her, and another clone of the Defiant will crash back on the planet, and these 8,000 people will continue to live. Now, if this was the next generation, I have no doubt in my mind that would be the end of the episode. Everything would be fine. These people would survive. Our crew would go back. The end. Happily ever after. But this isn't the next generation, and this isn't the Enterprise. This is Deep Space Nine, where things are real. And our Dax finds out that that was a whole lie, and that they had changed the flight plan so that they were going to crash back on the planet. So, of course, everybody has a lot of issues with this, because especially O'Brien, because, he just had his second child, and he's married to Keiko. Sisko wants to get back to Jake. Everybody has loved ones back on the station. And they have issues with it until they start meeting some of these people, the farming rituals and stuff like that. And finally, they do agree. They're like, okay, we will crash back on the planet 200 years in the past to restart your civilization, and we'll go from there. So everybody gets on the Defiant, they take off, and then they escape. And it turns out that somebody changed the flight plan. So these 8,000 people basically just lost their lives. And Odo admits that the older Odo linked with him, and so they exchanged knowledge, and Odo changed the flight plan and basically killed these 8,000 people so that they never survived, just so Kira could survive, because her life was worth more than all of them, in his opinion. And so now Kira and Odo are kind of in a weird spot where she knows Odo is in love with her, but she also just realized that a different version of Odo killed 8,000 people just for her. This was a terrific episode. I really enjoyed this one. I loved all of the different connections, and I thought it was really great. Seeing Worf with the Klingon descendants was a great scene. In my opinion, this episode could easily have been a two-parter. I would love to have seen more interactions with all of these people, but then I fear we would have gotten too connected to them, and it would have been even more disheartening to watch them all basically die, which could have actually worked better for the favor. So, for those who have seen this one, what did you guys think about it? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for the subscriptions and everything. I will see you guys next time for a Blaze of Glory.